argue our dream for reality. We are all a part of the answer to the meaning of it all. Come in and join us for the moment we call now. Rise up, join in, raise the whole vibration.
Yes, hello, rise up, join in, raise the vibration. It's fun. Everybody's doing it. You are here on a Thursday. It's September 11th, a solemn day in Americans' history, but it is Thursday, and that means you're at the live stream of consciousness, 9 p.m. Eastern time. So thank you for being here if that was your intention, and welcome if it was an accident. It's cool. Everybody's welcome here. I want to say, if you are here live, it does help me for you to comment. Just say hashtag live if you're watching the show live. That tickles the algorithm, lets the algorithm know that there's something going on that makes it laugh a little bit, and maybe it repeats to somebody else. I don't know how that all works. And if you're watching the replay, just type in hashtag replay. That also helps me know who's out there watching and all of that stuff. Welcome. I see Evelyn already lined up. I want to say a little shout out to Tim and to Ninja Kitty for always being here since day one. This has been probably about 3 or 4 years that I've been doing this. What's up, live? Nice to see you, Alice. And it's just been an amazing journey, amazing conversations. It's never been, it was like an accident. I mean, the people who've been here know I was the co-host at first with Jesse Blaze, and it wasn't something I intended to do, but it just felt right. And people were responding to it, and I was responding to it. So it just became something that I intentionally did every Thursday night. And here I am. Here you are. We've all made it, and we're here. I'm probably babbling because I'm a little nervous. I have an amazing guest tonight. I've had a few guests who are people who I just kind of saw out there in social media land, in the ether, doing their thing, and was really engaged by what they were doing, and had the opportunity to reach out and have conversations. And with the recent experience that I've been talking about, you guys know, in Costa Rica, and the idea of creating your own reality, I said, let me do that again. That was fun. I had amazing conversations, and I reached out to this guy who we're about to meet, and he said yeah. And I was really surprised because he's really killing it on social media. Let me throw up his banners here. He's known as Bassforge, also Static in the Attic, if you know him from, I guess, the old days. I don't know the whole history. We're about to find out. But really amazingly interesting guy, and I think really epitomizes the kind of guest that I like to have here, right? I talk all the time about how we all hold a piece of the puzzle, and we may not fit right next to somebody else, but we all fit in that puzzle, and we all make that big picture. And I just like to share moments with people who want to share their puzzle piece and share it with you guys. And, so we all get to see the big picture, and we all can kind of focus in on what reality is, what humanity is. What does it mean to be here in this 3 dimensions? What does it mean to be, I've been talking about this a lot. What does it mean to know that I am you and you are me, but here I am talking to you, like as if you're somebody else. Like, what is that all about, right? That's what we're here to do, and that's what we're here to talk about. So without further ado, I'm excited to welcome a very prolific purveyor of ancient knowledge, Tyler Engle, also known as Bassforge. Welcome to the live stream of consciousness.
What's up, man? That was the greatest intro for a podcast I've ever seen.
Oh, no way. Wow. I'm super flattered, man.
It was going. I was like, this is great.
You know what? That's what I think is really cool about this. And I was kind of saying it, like, I never planned this, but I feel like it puts me in a place, it puts me in a moment, and I just channel, right? I just go with the flow, and I'm here doing it because I love to hold space for people. I love to listen to the stories And I guess that was what resonated with people who were watching. You know, they saw it was more authentic. You know, I'm not Russell Brand, you know, just being like, yeah, this and that and the other thing, and telling everybody stuff I want to hear, I want to share, I want to like connect. The live stream of consciousness, right? It's everything. So thank you, man. I appreciate that. You appreciate that. I totally forgot to do this. Maybe you'll do this with me, because I am so excited. But I have my trusty bowl here, sage. Normally what I like to do is just kind of ground everybody together just with 3 breaths, right? It's so simple. Breathing is like essential to everything. And when you take a second to focus on it while you're doing it 3 times in a row, like you really feel the physiological effect of it. You feel the mental effect of it, the emotional effect of it. So something I've been doing for a little bit. If you'll just indulge me for a moment, to do 3 deep breaths in and then push out everything that you don't need, everything that happened earlier today that you might be holding on to. I know the past couple of days have been pretty intense. We're going to talk about that a little bit, but yeah, let's let it go. Let's be in our own moment. So here we go, guys. Breathing in, pushing it out. Breathing in, you hold it for a second, push it out. One last one together. Push it out. Every time I'm like, I just reminded myself how awesome it is to breathe. Because it really is. Thank you for indulging me. So I've been watching you for a while. I introduced you as a purveyor of ancient knowledge. That's kind of how I came across you. It's so refreshing to see your content on TikTok. I don't really watch TikTok, to be honest with you. I see it on Instagram. I see it on Facebook, but on social media in general, because social media has become such a hellhole of division and inanity, many things, but rarely do you get to see a more educational kind of focused, intentional content. So kudos to you for creating an amazing brand that, you know, seems to really be working for you. And I think that's a big part of what I'm attracted to talk to you about too, the idea of creating your own reality. I think from what I see, you know, you've really done a great job of doing that. But Jennifer Rose is out there. What's happening? And Ninja Kitty's calling out Sage by name. So I love your story because you didn't start this way, and that's what's so cool about life, right? I call it life. Other people call it a spiritual journey. But that's what's so cool is like you go through these things who create who you are at any given moment. You know, it's a compilation of everything you've done. So my audience may not be too familiar with you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, if you don't mind, and where you started and how you got to the ancient knowledge stuff?
Yeah, totally. Actually, I'll give you a little special access. I've never really told some of these parts of my background.
Cool.
But so I grew up in Kansas, smallish town, from Wichita, and you know, it's very, you know, conservative, kind of closed-minded, a little bit, very traditional. You know, I was raised Christian. I never really resonated with it as much as the rest of my family, but you know, I knew there was value there. I knew that I'd read the Bible a couple times. There's nuggets that I appreciated. I didn't like all the that mindset for me was just it went against the grain of what I was like feeling internally. Even though there was like an undertone of the esoteric that I resonate with a lot now. So when I was in high school, I thought I knew everything, and I was like, you know, screw all this. I'm doing my own thing. And I was pretty militantly atheist. Like I didn't really accept a lot of explanations for any spiritual concepts or religious concepts or anything like that. I was like, I'm doing my business stuff, and I'm doing this, and I'm going to be an entrepreneur and this business guy. And so I just really focused on that. And I started this business. I went to college for computer engineering, and I hated it. So I was like, you know, I went the business route. And so I started this business, and I was doing high-rise window cleaning and like restoration work for old buildings and stuff. And so I really got into architecture and how buildings worked. And I fell in love with that because of my engineering background. And so I was just chugging along doing that, and kind of outgrew Kansas a lot. And so I moved down to Austin because my mom was down here, and started like actually living life and enjoying it a little bit. And then I got into music. And so I had all these like different realms of knowledge, I guess, that were pretty, scattered, I guess. And so I didn't really know how to like fuse those. And then COVID hit. And when COVID hit, no one wanted their windows cleaned because no one was in office buildings or anywhere really. So that business just collapsed. And I had this like 3-month span where I was just I was writing credit cards, man. I was like $40K in credit card debt. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And so while I was doing that, I was just like watching documentaries, and like I was bored, just consuming a whole bunch of content. And I had this giant swipe file, pretty much like a document of all this crazy stuff that I was finding, and these cool patterns and stuff that I was seeing, and ancient stuff. And I showed one of my buddies one time, and he's like, dude, why aren't you posting about this? Like, no one's talking about this. I was like, nah, no one wants to. I'm like, I'm the only one that's gonna, that's gonna understand.
Right.
This. No one's gonna want to hear about it.
Right.
So I started doing like music production lessons, because I was producing EDM, and I was DJing, and I was going that route, and was getting pretty good at it. And people would ask me for the lessons, and so I just started posting that content on my TikTok. And TikTok had this program where they would pay you for views. I don't know if it's still going on now. I'm not in it, but I was like, you know what? If I can crack this code, I may be able to save myself here. So I just started posting music content, and then I posted one video about explaining how a speaker worked, and then it went super viral. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna listen to my buddy and see if that other content that I have works. And then I just started rapid firing that out, and those were doing better than the speaker video. And I was like, okay, we're ready for this. And so I just dove in like headfirst to that, and honestly, TikTok kind of saved me and pulled me out of the debt. And then I started getting, using my business chops and saying, how can I do this? But I wanted to do it differently. Like I didn't want to be a, here, link in my bio for all my products type of a guy. Cause I don't resonate with that on social media. I don't resonate with the drama or the opinionated stuff. I feel like the authenticity was going to do more damage in that space than anything that I learned in business. So I was dead set on just like, okay, well, how much stuff can I cram into like a information product or a course or something, or like, what can this information do for people? And so I started exploring that route, and then it got into like Hermetic philosophy and the, ancient Egyptian way of looking at things and reality creation. And so once I started going down that route, everything else kind of just like lined up and got in perfect alignment with exactly where I wanted to take it. And so through 2 years of posting about every single day, we're here now. And now that's how you found me.
Well, it's a lot of work. I'm imagining, your content is all edited. There's a lot of editing that you're doing in your content, but I think you hit it on the head, right? I think that your content is like super authentic. I know when I first started watching it, I didn't feel like you were trying to sell me anything at all. And it wasn't until I got into it enough that I was like, oh, this guy has books. You know what I mean? Like I want to know more. And I just recently, you have on your website, you have this great, amazing deal right now for like a bundle. And I just finally grabbed the bundle. I'm super excited about it. I started reading it. I'm a little envious, right? Because you're so passionate about discovery, right? You're so passionate about exploring things, and you do a lot of reading. I don't do a lot of reading. I was never a big reader, right? It's interesting because part of my journey right now in creating your own reality thing is one of the only guys I ever got into was Douglas Adams, which is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. His writing style like just blew my mind. I remember I was much younger, but I remember having to read pages like a few times, right? And to kind of understand what was going on and the concepts that he was getting into, and just like the energy, right? I'm going to say the consciousness that's in those writings, because, you know, I've come to realize that that's what that is, right? When you create a book, you're creating a consciousness now that's out there, able to interact with other beings, right? Which is amazing. But so the reason I'm even bringing that up is because I started to write a book that was inspired by Douglas Adams, and it's a humor style book that's called You Are the Answer. And it's really like the most basic thing, like the question of life. Why am I here? Well, you're here because you you know what I mean? You're here to be you. And I feel like I'm so inspired by what you've done that it's really pushed me to kind of I created this Facebook page that's like a living book, right? Where as I was doing the chapters, I was posting little snippets of it, and now I'm like putting it together to be an ebook and an actual physical book. And I just feel like those are the paths of creating your own reality, right? Is doing it, right? One of the things I saw on one of your interviews, you said like, what's the secret, right? And the secret is deciding. I think you said, right? Deciding to actually just do it. Right. And I think, man, we're already so deep into this because I feel like I know you so much. But like, you know, we've been conditioned to not even think about that, right? That we're not deciding. You know, I think you were talking about it also in one of the interviews I saw where, you know, most people, like, they just wake up, they go to work, they, you know, kind of go through these cycles and they just repeat, and nobody really like looks outside of that because it's comfortable. It's a comfort zone. And you have done, when I talk about creating your own reality, I just recently watched some adventures, not in full, I can't wait to see them more, where you're traveling to Europe, Egypt, and going in the pyramids and like really fulfilling your destiny, I want to say, in a way, you know what I mean? Like really like touching the things that you've been so interested in and excited about. How does that feel? That must be amazing.
It's funny because I had a goal to go to Egypt by the time I was 33, and I went like right as I turned 33 pretty much. So that was pretty cool. Like, if you want to talk about reality creation, it was like the universe was like, here you go.
Amazing.
So yeah, opportunity lined up. It was really cool. Egypt is an interesting country for sure. Definitely one to do your research on before you travel to. I definitely had some culture shocks. I've been to the Middle East before. I've been to Jordan. I went to Petra. I've been to Israel. I've been to a couple places over there, but Egypt was definitely different just because of the history. You know, it's crazy that you see the contrast of like modern versus the ancient is just, you know, they're literally right next to each other. So it's this weird like time portal almost. And then you go into the temples and then everything else just disappears and you're in Egypt land. You know, all the stuff that they created and the message, like what you were saying with the books, like it's a piece of their consciousness that's, you know, a Hail Mary into the future. And theirs was not just on paper that you will eventually decompose. This is in very hard rock and in very specific configurations. And so my brain was just like sensory overload. It was like a laser light show, but in rocks. So it was really, really cool. But I feel like I would need probably 10 more trips to get everything that I actually need to get out of it. I had some specific things that I wanted to go visit and see and investigate, and I got most of those. But as you're going to those, you kind of get derailed by all of you're like, what's over there? What is this? You know, and then by the end of it, you've been at the site for too long and you have to go to the next one. So, yeah, it's never enough time, but it definitely was one of those things that I'll absolutely never forget. I'm sure I'll be back there soon too. Yeah. So.
And you're just talking about the physical aspects. You're not even talking about the energetic aspect of it.
Yeah, we don't. that is a entirely
right. I mean, I can't even imagine, Tyler. It's just it's. I'm kind of living a little vicariously through you and what you do, and I think, you know what, I've come to enjoy that, right? Because I get so much the idea of, my philosophy is the collective, right? We're a collective energy, right? And we all kind of get to experience our things, but we're all connected. So like, even just kind of watching somebody do something, sometimes I can kind of connect myself to that moment and to the energy of it, you know. Different podcasts that I watch Donald Hoffman a lot, right? And it's like, I don't know if you know who that is. He's he just talks great about the idea that this is a virtual headset, right? And explains these kind of abstract concepts that somehow feel right to me. There's some like truth that something pokes at me when I talk about it. That's like, okay, there's an aspect of that sounds like it might be right, but it also might be just the way I need to describe it because I'm limited to human language.
Yeah.
Which
is inherently going to not be able to describe it in its full depth of experience, which is again why I can tell you all day about all these temples in Egypt, and you can watch the episodes in that bundle too, and it's going to be amazing, and you're going to see some stuff you've never seen before. But if it's one thing to see it, and it's another thing to touch it or to be in one of those chambers and talk and hear your voice come back at you from 50 different angles, and like all of these sensory things that were intentionally designed to provide you with this higher experience, this mental space that they created for you to receive that knowledge that they were trying to transmit. It's wildly different than even a book is so immersive because of your imagination, but this is like you said, it's like putting on a VR headset and going back in time 3,000, 6,000 years.
Yeah, totally. And I love like people like Donald Hoffman, even though it's a wildly different topic than ancient knowledge, right? I think it's so similar in your mission, right? Which is just like, what WTF is reality? Like what is reality and what's my how do I navigate it? But again, it's like I think the thing that comes through in authenticity in people like you and Alex Ferrari, people like who I watch, is the excitement of creating the journey, right? It's like, oh shit, I'm just supposed to create this shit. I'm supposed to be, I'm in charge here, which is really cool. Is it cool if I share a little bit of the PDF of the Cryptics Esoterica on screen? I mean, I didn't know. I wanted to ask you before I did it. Cool. Let me see if I can share that, because I definitely want to. I want to kind of hold space for you and what you've done here, because I think it's really admirable. Let me see if this is going to work. Yes, I got to close this. There we go. All right. So here we go. So this is part of the bundle that I just got from you. And I think this is probably where you start. Let me see if I can just make this fill up the screen a little bit better here. Boom. And I love where it starts, right? It starts with sacred geometry. And I love that you take, let me just get to that. I love that you take people through the sacred geometry, from the very beginning. I guess first there's a couple of things here, but then you start with the circle. And then you actually, at some point, you suggest that people draw them. Right? Like draw the sacred geometry and kind of go through these exercises. I just thought that was so brilliant because of the energy of it and the connection of it, right? And the frequency of it, right? Even like physical actions and thoughts and connecting all of that together, okay, I'm thinking of a circle. Okay, I want to draw a circle. Okay, now I've created a circle. All of that process is just, I love the way you take people through it and talk about how the geometry grows on itself. And I wrote a couple of notes down here because I knew having a conversation with you, it's going to be like, oh my God, So one of the things here, and I think it's close to where that is the idea of this all-seeing eye. So you get to the all-seeing eye through the single circle, and then the double circle, which becomes duality, and then this shape here, which is the vesica, I believe. And then that becomes the all-seeing eye, and then here's where we actually start. Amazing material. If you guys are into this stuff, like, this is such a great place to start and really kind of get it. And very similar to Douglas Adams, I did find myself having to read some of the sentences a couple of times. But it's so great because, again, there's a consciousness to it, right? And it's just a consciousness that you've put down through your perception of the consciousness that turned you onto it. You know what I mean? Which is cool. I think there's so many layers there. But here's where you start talking about the all-seeing eye. And to me, this was really significant. You talk about the symbolism of it through different cultures and through different time periods, but to me it was significant because I know when I meditate, that's what I see very, very often. I see just a big eye right here, just in front of me, and it's often changing. Almost, it's interesting. It's almost like AI. You've seen those generative AI videos where things just change, and it's almost like changing, or just like pop, 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 swapping out really quick. Sometimes it's actually faces, and it's like random faces, human faces, alien faces, animal faces. That's the imagery that I see often when I meditate. So when I was reading this and just kind of connecting with the idea of how it's symbolizes, what it symbolizes through the ages, I'm just like, wow, like this is great. And I think this is what I love about your content so much, and I'm going to share some more of this, but let's take this out for now. This is what I love about your content so much. It's like it doesn't really feel like reading. I feel like I'm connecting to concepts, you know what I mean, and communicating back and forth with the energy of what you've put down.
That's the goal. I mean, and especially with the tying back to like drawing the geometry too. That's the point of it. Is if you have to figure out, I can show you on a piece of paper how perfect two circles look together, but when you have to actually nail that perfectly, it gets quite difficult. The more you go, two circles is easy, but you try and do a flower of life, and if you're off by a millimeter, the flower of life does not look like it should. So there's little philosophical lessons inside each time you draw those shapes too, of not necessarily the mathematics or universal constants or stuff that are within those shapes. It's more of like, okay, how do I get closer to the perfection that I want to see here? Because that's what truly conveys the message, is just nailing it perfectly, that perfect shape, which we can never actually get. No matter how close you zoom in, you're going to be off a little bit, So that again is like another philosophical lesson. Like the most you're going to get close, but you're never going to get there too.
Totally. And it's interesting. I'm going to share something with you in a little bit. But I was never really a big fan. I'm a graphic artist. I'm a graphic designer. And that's one of the things I also love about your content is you've put together such a nice branded package, and presented your graphics in such a beautiful way. But I was never really a big fan of like a mandala, right? In general, like growing up, like, it was like, oh, cool. They're on like, tapestries, and, I saw them as kind of cultural kind of thing. But as an artist, it wasn't visually necessarily appealing to me. It seemed kind of spirograph, right? Like kind of easy, and then through my photography, I'm a photographer. I started doing some photography. I guess we could jump right into this. I started doing some photography, and working with my photographs, I came up with this process. And I forgive me because I don't want to make this about me at all, but I do want to share some things with you here. Let me see here. Image file, my desktop. And so what I started doing was I was inspired by another photographer who was taking a projector as his light source, and he was shining, using that to take pictures of models, right? So I produced this image, and I loved it. I was like, whoa, this is cool. And when you look really close to it, I don't think I could zoom in here, but you could see the actual like pixels, right, of the projector on her face, and how it goes across the contour of her face. I just love, there was something about this, right, that I loved. And as I was working with it, I felt there was so many more layers to the meaning of it. Projection, how we project our image outward, what people project onto us. I was coming up with all sorts of meanings in my brain of like what this meant. But anyway, the working with it in Photoshop, something told me to, and I'm sorry because this is, I can only do this one at a time. Something told me flip the image and make it symmetrical. And so the next image that I had from that series was this image here. And I flipped it, and then I flipped it again. And I started to see like this mandala I was like, whoa, there's like something happening here. Like it was, it was talking to me, and I was just channeling back and forth. And eventually, the last image, which is 8, let me just get to that, was the final image, and it just said something to me, and I coined the term human dollar. And I was now it's making human dollars, and it became a big part of my work for probably a couple of years. I was doing human dollars. But there's a reason I'm talking about this. Let me just get this last one up. There we go. Whoop. And that was the last image. And the reason I'm talking about this is because some of the content that I really love that you do is about cymatics. And this really started to remind me of like cymatic images. Besides mandalas, there was also like this 3-dimensional quality to it that I really liked. Are you familiar with a guy named David Shiremeyer?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's somebody else whose work I was like blown away by his work, and he started posting some work, and there was a moment that I had, and I really would love to know what you think about this. Let me see if I have his image as well. Well, there's 2 here. I think that let's just show one of these here. So there was something about the image. I was looking at the image, and again, totally straight, not on any drugs, not on any substances. I felt the image was looking back at me.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like this interaction between my experience with the image and the image's experience with me. Have you ever experienced anything like that?
Oh yeah. I mean, I can see it like just in the like the 4 split there. It looks like a face too. Like there's the cymatics. They have this weird thing of almost pulling you into what it's trying to tell you, and that's what there's a lot of similarities with. Like I'm sure you've seen the rose windows and the Hindu temples as well. There's something about the geometry, and it's there's been studies on this too, especially with flowers. Evolutionarily, we are wired to slow down and pay attention more to radial symmetry and the symmetry in general, but radial symmetry in to be specific, it calms the nervous system of humans down in general. So like old libraries or cathedrals or that old architecture with all of that like crazy geometry around you, it's designed, it had an effect on people when they walked into it, where you're just almost in awe of how beautiful it is. And that's again goes back to this drawing the sacred geometry. You're making that connection with something that is like ordered, it's divine, it's got a power behind it because it knows how to make these things fit perfectly within itself. So there's a switch that gets flipped in your mind to be like, something's here that I need to pay attention to. So I feel like that's kind of that spirit of it looking back at you. It's saying, hey, this is something you should pay attention to. Why don't you look closer at me?
Absolutely perfect. And you had a video, and I forgot to like bookmark because I wanted to show it recently, that I saw that was related to EDM, the music that you do, and cymatics and the visuals and how they connect in your brain, the shapes that you're looking at and the sounds that you're hearing, the frequencies that you're hearing in another way that like we're just not even accustomed to, that shifts something within your essence, right? Like not even your physical essence necessarily. It's just some essence of you, some frequency of you. I love the cymatic stuff. Tell me how you got into that. Tell me what your thoughts are on cymatics. And let me just start with the first time I saw it was the metal plate with the sand and the violin bow, and immediately it said to me, sound is moving matter. And from there I was just fascinated with it. So tell me your journey with cymatics. How does that tie into EDM and what I brought up there?
Oh, that one's a good one. I learned about it in high school. There's a guy named Nigel Stanford. He put out a film called Cymatics, and it's that really well produced theatrical one where there's all of them. He's playing the piano and there's fire coming out and all that cool stuff.
Oh yeah.
I was like enamored by that thing, and so I had always been into it, but I never really put like any other thing together with it. I was just looking at it like it was a cool physical phenomenon, and that was pretty much it.
Right.
And then I got hooked really hard when I was at the COVID time when I had nothing else to do. And the singing bowls, like in Tibet, you know, when they have they can use the mallets to make them ring, but there's water in them. And I was watching a video of them Om chanting, and there's a bowl in there. No one was playing the bowl, but the bowl was making the cymatics. And I was like, hold on, why are they doing that? Why is that there?
Mm.
And so I looked at it and I was watching the patterns, and then I matched up the patterns with they make these artworks that take them years to make. They're so detailed, right? I was watching those artworks, and the artwork was the cymatic. It was like the same thing. So I was like, okay, this has to mean something.
Mm.
And so I was looking at the Hindu temples, and on the Hindu temples, they have flowers on the ceiling, and the flowers match up with those patterns as well, depending on the notes that you hit. So I was like, there's got to be something here with this. So when I was making music, when we use synthesizers, it's like a very clean, pure tone. You know, it's not like a violin where you have the resonance of the wood giving it that timbre. This is a pure sine wave, and I can make it do whatever I want. So I was reverse engineering it pretty much to get the fold symmetry right and all this stuff. And so I was like, okay, there's a key here. It's something is unlocked when you hit these tones in this place. That's why they put it on the wall, or you know. So I was doing some deep research on that, and then I came across Roslyn Chapel, where they hid those bowstring cymatics on the little notches above the vaults through the doorways. There's little notches that go on them. The squares, if you unfold them, are cymatic patterns that form a note that you can play. All of them are a song. So then there's like all of these cymatic gateways in these temples, and so I was hooked after that. Wow. And then I went to Egypt, and we were doing that was one of the main reasons I went there, is to get some data. You can't get permits to do this stuff, so you kind of have to do it by ear. So I had a tuner in my phone that I use for, you know, like a guitar tuner, and we go into each chamber and then feel in your body when that resonance hit, because every time you go into one, they're all different, and you hit a specific note, and then that's what you feel. So we go through all these rooms, and then each one, when we hit the tone, I would screenshot it, and then I recorded each one of those in each room, because like there has to be something going on with that. Yeah. So it was just this slippery slope into everything that was you know, going on in that space. But that's when we're getting into like temple science, and that's what Cryptex is all about. Is you know, these places are not just a place of worship. They are, but they're much, much deeper than that. It's the whole concept of temple science is aligning. This is what a ritual is: aligning as many senses as you can to an experience, and then using that as a gateway to a higher altered state of consciousness, right? And so to facilitate that, you have specific conditions in each part of the temple, or the main part of the temple, or the hall of the cathedral. Each of these is designed to do a specific thing and allow you to have more conscious freedom to explore the internet of reality. You know, that's really how I try and see it, is these things are almost like an address to a website of information that you can directly experience if you get as aligned as you should be to that gateway, right? So that was really like the end-to-end path on that. And I'm, you know, this is a constant research topic for me. It's like the thing that I'm most interested in. But as far as music goes, I'll tell you, if you can lock your music, the sounds, the tones with the visuals, and match those up, and also match up the colors to it, because they all have, you know, a tone of C has a color, right?
Frequency. It's a frequency.
Matching color. So that is the point of aligning all of these things for that experience. If I can give you that direct path, that's going to be the most powerful, impactful thing that you can experience. And then when you come out of it, you question yourself. You're like, what does he know? How did he do that to me? I didn't agree to this. It just happened to me. How did you do that to me? You know? And then it gets you interested, and then you go down the path. And that's kind of like that's the process that a lot of artists use, especially in the EDM space, to get you to have those really transformative experiences.
Sure. Yeah, totally. I want to do with the projector, I want to do a visual sound bath experience with the bowls, and I've experimented with kind of like lighting up the bowls. I have some white crystal bowls, and lighting up the bowls with the tone, because you can have it sound,
Yeah.
And I definitely, maybe we should collaborate, and you can help me out with some cymatic imagery too. I would love to really like
Amazing.
get into that. But that's awesome. Evelyn is asking a question, kind of random here, about the Fibonacci theory, the Fibonacci sequence. What is that? How does that tie into all of this? Which is kind of a random. I mean, it goes so deep, Evelyn. But
Yeah, she just said Tool kind of did this. Yeah, there's another artist. His name's Subtronics in the EDM space. He does the same thing. So Fibonacci is a progression, and so what that's used for really is at any point on the spiral, you can map the musical notes to it. Right. That's how your ear. If you look in your ear, there's a piece of it called the cochlea, and it's shaped like the Fibonacci spiral. And so if any point on that spiral, you can hit a note, right? And you can draw a line all the way to the center of that Fibonacci spiral, which does not exist. It goes to infinity. So getting the alignment right there, you can control it's almost like a dilation of time if you use it right, where like you can progress up or you can progress down and give a sense of, speeding up or speeding down. And then if you adjust your light to that, it gets, brighter or dimmer, or the colors shift higher and lower. So that sequence is more like a gateway, and it's the way that nature uses, it programs everything pretty much to be perceived. Your vision it goes off of that same progression. We perceive things in that scale. We hear things in that scale. I'm sure there's some way to map smells to that scale too, but that is how reality works pretty much. It's like an underlying framework to it. So if you can tap into that, you can essentially use it as a pathway to guide the experience. You can jump around all over if you want to, but like if you do listen to that type of music, you'll notice that it's more of it kind of just moves you in a way that you're not really like familiar with. You are familiar with it, but you've never heard someone use it intentionally in that way to move you. It's kind of a shock at first.
Interesting. Yeah, totally. And yeah, it's I knew this was going to happen, that we were just going to jump all over the place, because you're such a treasure trove of wealth. So I wrote down here, I'm trying to unity, duality, good and evil. Are we meant to experience both? I don't know what I was reading when I was like taking notes as I was going through your book. I don't know what sparked that, but that is that's something that I ponder often, right? Because people talk about this battle between good and evil, and I'm just like, well, maybe in another realm, but in this realm, they both are here. There's no battle, right? It's like they just both exist. Or am I looking at it wrong?
It's a Western lens that people are using for it. So the that whole mindset has traditionally framed them as fighting against each other, where the East looks at it like they are necessary to have the whole. And so if you we'll explain it geometrically, and that's how I do it in the book.
Great.
So if you have the two circles that make the vesica, right? You have your light polarity and you have your dark polarity. In the middle is going to be a polarity of the shades of gray, right? That's where you see everything. You see all of those different shades, and that is experience. If you have a purely dark experience, and you're used to being in the dark experiences, if you come from that experience, then eventually it's going to get boring. You want to see what the light does. And if you're always in the light, if you're always good, if you're always this in that aura, I guess that will also get boring. So when people say like you're the universe experiencing itself, the only way you can have that experience is if you go through the middle of that vesica. The eye is what is going to have the experience. That's what measures the polarities of dark and light. So if there's no way to measure that, then you're either in unity, which is everything all at once, or you're in complete darkness, which is nothing at once. So to have an experience, to go through time, to measure that, you have to have that middle perspective. So for anything to be good, there has to be something that's bad. For anything to be classified as bad, we have to have something comparatively that's as good, or we don't know how bad something is or how good something is. That is more of the Eastern perspective. I resonate with that a lot more. The West framed it as more of a battle. I think intentionally, it was a very, conquering time, I guess, and that could be used to align somebody with like, these people are evil, we need to take their stuff, or these people are good, we should be allies. So there is a use case for it, but I think in terms of like general spirituality and usefulness in life, there are things that are objectively horrible, there are things that are objectively amazing, and you have to have a good sense of where that middle point is, with that eye. You have to be very confident in, this is necessary for me to have this experience for it to make sense.
Totally. And I was just going to tie it into a conversation I heard you talking about, where, life doesn't happen to you, kind of thing, right? Like, coming to that perspective where whatever's going on, there's a reason for it, and getting through that circumstance is the reason. but getting to the other side, that lesson or whatever you're going through, that experience is part of that experience. And again, it is that light and dark thing. I definitely, it's interesting to me when people are like, well, if there's a God, why would he kill babies and cancer? And it's like, it's duality. To me, I try to just put it all into that category, and accept it, and that was the thing, the story I told you with my glasses, losing my glasses in Costa Rica, right? Like, I could have let that destroy my experience and just been like, oh man, I'm fucked and this sucks and blah, blah, blah. And I went with it. I just said, this is what's happening. You know what I mean? I have to be here. Yeah, I might as well enjoy it. I get to choose, right? And that was the big lesson of, wow, I created my own reality. You know what I mean? Not only and I created the reality of losing the glasses, because I can remember the moment at the top of the waterfall saying, all right, should I put them in my pocket? Should I hold them? And the moment was like, the water's coming by me. I'm standing at the top I'm just like, fuck it, I'm going. And I got, the universe said, nope, you shouldn't have said that. That was the wrong answer. Yeah. And I was like, you're right, universe. That was the wrong answer.
Well, that was my perspective with I thought I was doing really well with my other business before COVID. Like, I made great money. I worked like 4 weekends out of the year. It was a pretty sweet gig. Like, I loved it. And, but I knew internally that like, that was not where I needed to be. And I had way more room to grow and do other things. But if that business wouldn't have failed, I don't think I would have. I probably would not have done anything on social. I probably would have just continued that and had an entirely different life. And I can't explain to you how much richer and more fulfilling my experience here has become, just pursuing the things that I was pulled to pursue, Amazing. And the skills that you learn along the way. I was not good at explaining things like this. It took 100 videos for me to really have a formula where I can be like, here's the idea, break it up, do the thing, put it together. And then now they usually do pretty well. I had 50 videos that had like 5,000 views, and now one doesn't do good, I'm like, oh, I only got 100,000. Like, you shift your perspective, man.
Of course. And again, part of what I said earlier, you're becoming who you are, right? By all of these pieces adding up and making those 50 videos to find that one that works, that feels right. I don't want to use the word envious. I'm very careful with what I say, right? Words and energy and frequency. I'm excited for you. I'm really happy for you. And like I said, I live kind of vicariously through you, and I'm inspired by the idea of you and your message and your mission, besides the books, and which is cool for graphic design. And I think that's cool. There's a part of me that really relates to that, but the mission of being in service, right? Which is like, I would imagine nothing you ever even thought about yourself.
No.
Right? That you would even care to be in service. But I feel like when you come to a certain point of authenticity of who you are, and you realize what your mission is, it doesn't matter, right? It just doesn't matter, because you just are that. You just are that. So what I want to congratulate you on is your school. The whole idea of creating a community. That's kind of what I'm trying to do here with Live Stream of Consciousness, is create a community of people who just all feel good talking about this stuff, because some places you can't talk about it, or thankfully I think that's changing. I think people are becoming more aware, more open to different ideas. But you've created this school now, and you're actually teaching this stuff again. Going through this PDF, the cryptex, is amazing. I'm loving it. I feel like I'm back in school, learning, and again, even that experience kind of shows you like, wow, I never knew how much learning excited me, right? Like when I was in regular school, it wasn't the same experience. It was kind of forced on you, and you felt like, oh, I have to do this. But now, as you get older and you're starting to pursue your own passions, right, and your own interests, it starts to feel good to really edify yourself. And I know that's part of the mission too, is getting people to do that, right? Getting people to be accountable for their own lives, right, and not be sitting there and doom scrolling and just thinking that life is happening to them.
There's a lot that is an underlying thing that I feel runs a lot of people, and they don't necessarily put it together until someone really kind of shines a light on it. And that really was when I started, was the thing that I wanted to do, is be like, hey, there's this thing, look at this, like a flashlight, like you're not paying attention to this, and it's right here. It's right. You're getting all this content from all these people. And you have to really dig for some of the stuff that I talk about. And that's what I was doing. I watched so many lectures that 90% of it was just like mind numbing. And then that 10%, I'm like, oh, can use that. That people don't understand how much goes into finding, like the clips that I use sometimes is 2 hours into a 3-hour lecture with one slide that just made it all click. Right. So finding that stuff is extremely difficult, but the beauty is, and what you were saying there about it is, I have never got the level of, I don't even know, I would call it inspiration almost. Some people just come up and say, I was never, I don't get on Instagram other than to watch your videos, or I was never into, I want to go learn about this now, and I was never into this before. And
that's awesome.
And that to me is like, I don't care how many books I sell in terms of numbers, but if there's something in there, and there's 230 pages in cryptex, and I know one page in there, no matter who you are, is going to make something click in your head. And whether that's just being interested in something, ancient history, or a culture that needs more respect or needs more admiration, or something that that you can use in your life, if just one page does that for you, then I want that to be worth it. And everything else is just bonus, So each paragraph that you saw how it's little blocks, I really try to make them as punchy as possible, so that if you are about that block, if you're resonating with that block, it's going to go as far as I can get it.
Nice.
And that's going to hit something for you and hopefully wake that up. So that's the intent behind it. But that for me is more of a reward, and nothing monetary or anything can compare to just getting something like that. I've teared up because of it before, and it's honestly, it's so cool.
That's awesome, Tyler. I appreciate that vulnerability there, man. That's real. And no, and that's, I think also that's the authenticity, right? It's like, you could be like, hey man, buy my book. You could be hawking your book right now, but you're not, you know what I mean? And you're just hoping that energetically the people who resonate with it will. I know for me, this journey started because 15 years ago, you would ask me this stuff. I remember seeing a channeler on YouTube, talking about the Galactic Council 15 years ago. And I was like, yeah, that's a bit much. Yes. That's a bit much for me. Right. And now I'm friends with channelers, right? I have friends who are psychic mediums and channelers and Akashic records readers. And to me, I think you'll probably agree with this. Like, a lot of this stuff was resonating with me, but the same vibration, like it all came from the same place.
Totally.
It all came from the same place. It all kind of pointed to the same thing. So I have a good question for you now, because you do a lot of research. A lot for people who haven't seen your content, go check it out. Highly recommended. But like some of your content recently is about cymatics, right? And the images that cymatics create, how if you overlay them over an ancient temple, you could see that it was structured in that pattern, right? So there's obviously some really intelligent civilization in the past, really amazing knowledge happening. How does knowing that knowledge and pursuing this knowledge, how does that help you, like on a day-to-day basis, kind of navigate?
That's interesting. So practically, the most practical thing I can tell you. Sometimes I'll see some stuff. For example, like I just research everything pretty much. I'll see the layout of a temple or something, and I'll just save it. I don't know what it's going to be used for, but it looked cool, so I'll save it. And then someone does this cool cymatics thing. Maybe David. There's a guy, Cadboy. He just has these crazy high def photos. I look at him for 10 minutes. I'm like, all right, save that for later. Right. I don't necessarily know how they're going to connect, really, ever. There's very few times where I'm like, oh, this is this,
right.
But what I do is kind of a form of meditation, and it's like right on the verge of sleep and wakefulness, like where your body is very relaxed, like every single muscle. And I actively focus on doing this, and it's usually before bed. But you just relax everything you possibly can, and I try and keep everything, visualize all the energy that my body would be using for bodily stuff, and put it in my brain. And so I just let it do what it needs to do. So all that stuff that I collected is just floating around here, right? And sometimes I'll put on a like a type of frequency meditation or something right before bed, something real peaceful, and just let my mind connect what needs to be connected, because it just kind of does that as long as I fight the sleep. And I can't emphasize that enough. I have like a 10-minute window here right before I go to bed where I'm like, I'm not sleeping. I'm tired as hell, but I'm not going to sleep. Okay. And I'll set a timer on my watch too, and I'll just get as relaxed as humanly possible. And sometimes I almost go, to sleep, but the watch wakes me up. And then those things just start assembling themselves in ways that I wouldn't consciously. If I'm sitting here talking to you right now and you told me, hey, make a connection between something that you've never seen before or never made before, I would be sitting here really racking my brain trying to do it. But the more I tried to do it, the more that connection would go off into the distance. Right. So it's more of an exercise in letting go and letting the universe do its thing, letting it speak to you, opening up, literally channeling, almost like opening up a channel so that those things, because the universe doesn't speak to you in English, it speaks to you in your experiences. So whatever experiences that you've had, my background is in engineering, it's in building restoration, it's in music production and graphic design, stuff like that. So with all those tools, it can tell me, you saw this over here and this over here. And remember when you went to that temple in Egypt? Remember that thing that you saw? Go look through your phone, because those things match up. And then I'll do that. And sure enough, something's there that I wouldn't have caught if I'm just really racking my brain on it. And so whenever that happens, I just make I'll make a note on my phone, or I'll do something, and then it becomes a page in the book, or it becomes a video, it gets expanded on. And so if as in terms of like practicality, that is the best thing I can tell people, is just like, if you're really trying to figure out how to do something like this, or try and figure out what you're interested in, or follow the threads like that, the best thing you can do is just let the world speak to you. Let your own experiences speak to you, because everything up to this moment was preparing you for something else, right? And all those experiences that you have are your toolkit in executing that as best as you possibly can. But the only way you can do that is to not force it and just surrender, pretty much. Surrender to what's going on.
I love it. I love what you're saying. What are your thoughts on people like, you're familiar with Daryl Anka, Bashar?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Bashar?
So I pretty much everything he said, it's confusing because people like him, the way they speak is very authentic, and what they say really resonates with a lot of people. It resonates with me. And I feel like there's this gap. It's kind of like what I was telling you, where you kind of like, my version of that is being conscious and putting those things together. But I think Daryl kind of takes it a step further, and he can fully step into that world with his consciousness stepping out of the way, and then that those things that piece that together, you know, where he has maybe an entity that kind of comes in there and does that for him. They can move in there without causing harm, you know, and kind of use him literally as a channel. I don't think, I really think there is something there. I've you know, I've listened to a whole bunch of stuff with him and a couple other people, and what how they communicate is just there's something about it that seems very authentic to me. And if I could scientifically explain it, I'm sure there is. You know, we're not like, consciousness is notoriously understudied. Like, we're trying, but like it's
totally,
just
totally, yeah. Well, that's part of why I started this show. You know, I love talking about this shit. It's great.
For me, he's taking off a glove. He's taking off his human glove, and then he's giving it to Bashar, and then Bashar puts on his human glove, and then he does human stuff.
Wow. So interesting, right? It's so interesting. So let me ask you another question. This is, and now I'm really kind of getting into questions I have, and I ask myself that I kind of don't understand, right? Something that I said about being a collective, and something I said about, you know, there's just one consciousness, and we're all just like fractals of it. When we talk about Bashar channeling an entity, would you say it's possible that that entity is an aspect of Daryl Anka, or something totally separate?
Yeah, actually, I probably would. I would say that, you know, I think there may be a hierarchy of consciousness in terms of, because if we all came from one thing, then you're just a branch of that. You know, there may be a big node in that branch that he can tune into a little bit more. I think if you overload consciousness in the human mind, I think that's when you have psychotic breaks. I think the human mind was not meant to perceive everything that is out there, and that's why we're literally filters for everything. We're not receivers. We're filtering out most things as humans,
right,
and that's giving us our human experience. So I think if you was to take on a full, you know, the full entity that he's connected to, you'd probably have a psychotic break. You're just not equipped to handle that. So maybe down the chain, and if you're going, you know, like a family tree, maybe he's a couple branches up there where he can be like, okay, I need you to go fully unconscious because I need all of you to deliver this message, right? So I think there may be a relation. It could, you know, it could be a direct thing. It could be an ancestor. It could be a you know, like spiritual cousin. I'm not sure, but I think you have to have a similar resonance to the person that you're tuning into, or it wouldn't be a match. You know, you're trying to put on a small glove with a large hand, that just probably wouldn't work, right?
Right.
So something similar to that would make sense to me.
Yeah, no, it's something I definitely wonder often. I know for me, you know, again, I have a lot of really eclectic friends who have all sorts of metaphysical connections and the way they receive and express it. And for me, you know, often I hear about spirit guides, right? These are my spirit guides, and people who connect with them on a very visceral, might not be the right word, but a very specific level, right? Like they have names, and some of them may be specific archangels or entities that do exist, or maybe they're just other versions, right, of themselves. I don't personally experience things that way, right? I mean, I certainly feel like I am very connected to energy in general, and my own essence, and my own, you know, how I navigate through the world, but I don't experience things that way. And for me, I often wonder, like, you said letting go, right? The idea of letting go, right? For me, I feel like I have, and I don't say this very often, right? I have received information, right? I have been I got information through an experience that imagination is reality. That's where reality happens in your mind, right? And that's what's great is quantum science and fit quantum, all of the quantum stuff that's going on right now is kind of explaining this and backing up the idea that matter isn't physical, and that we are just perceptions and these ideas that are happening and thoughts that are happening. I don't remember exactly where I was going with this now because my brain is melting. But you know, Tyler, I am so happy to have had this opportunity. I feel like I I don't even feel like I scratched the surface with you. Like I feel like I might have tapped on the glass a little bit, you know, like ding, 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 ding. Because you just have so many things that you explore and that you talk about so eloquently. Again, one more time, I'm just going to endorse you and tell people, if you haven't seen Tyler's content, go check him out. It's definitely, like I said, it's like you connect to it. There's a vibration, there's an authenticity, there's information there that I think we all know. I wanted to talk to you about what the heck is it called? Oh my God, I wrote it down. I always get it backwards. Rias, the big flood. What's the big flood?
Oh, Younger Dryas.
Younger Dryas, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you about all of that stuff and you know how that ties into it.
Yeah.
The cool thing is, I think, Tyler, I think when you study all of this stuff, and I'm just kind of thinking out loud here, you kind of, it is a big part of who you are and who you're interested in, and you love that stuff, but you also are aware that this is the moment. The moment is now. None of that stuff really matters, right? Don't go crazy like figuring out what does it mean, or what does the big flood mean? What are they lying to me? Like, you know, did they land on the moon? Like, the moment is now. Just like enjoy it, smile, and connect, you know, with everybody. And Evelyn is saying, are you on YouTube? Yes, it's Bassforge. Bassforge.us.
Yeah, I think YouTube maybe underscore, actually. Someone might have
might be underscore.
.us, but yeah, same handle. It's got the same logo.
You probably can get to it through the website. There's probably some
Yes.
links on the website. But man, it's been so amazing talking to you. I would love to have you back. You got an open invitation to come back and have a conversation anytime about anything, because I love listening to you, and I love exchanging the information, and I love, you know, it's
the bundle will help you get a little more in my head there, and then maybe that'll give us some future talking points.
Very cool. Yeah. Oh my God. And I wrote down Matthias De Stefano. You had an experience with him. He's I mean, just amazing. And again, like, I feel like I've kind of developed this platform, and I feel like I'm heading in that direction to like have these conversations. So thank you for being here. And if you got Matthias's number, you can send it over to me. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, this is great, Evelyn. Very interesting. Yeah, really, really good stuff. And I saw Tim came in late, and Tim, thank you for being here as well. Positive vibes. That everything comes back great for Tim. Yes. All right, so let me ask you a question. Do you have any words of advice, love, any dad jokes for my audience before you leave?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we didn't get to touch around the chaos going on right now, but like, there's a lot of emotions, a lot of things that can kind of throw a monkey wrench in your day, and especially when with what I do, having to put on a face, like when you're clearly affected by something, you still got to make a post, like there are certain techniques that you can do to kind of just escape that. And I love what you did at the beginning here, and the breath techniques. So I'll leave you with another practical one. So right before a video, I do this thing, and it's in one of my books too, where if you've ever seen a baby, when they stop crying, they're like, they like do a bunch of breaths,
Yeah.
It's actually a nervous system trigger that will immediately calm down. So any signals that are going through your body that are chaotic, that double breath is like a reset button, and you almost have to calm down. So if you're, if that's overwhelming, if social media can do this, news can do this, just regular life can do that. I always tell people, like, just, sit back, do one of the big double baby breaths, and just realize that you are here, that the universe was feeding you that experience, no matter what it was, no matter how good or bad it was feeding you that experience for a reason. Mm-hmm. And you can always reset, you can always recenter, and take that observer perspective on anything that you encounter in life. So that's all I got for you, man.
Brilliant, amazing. You know what? And it's really simple. It really is, right? When you break it down, it doesn't need to be that complex. Totally simple. All right, I'm going to put you in the green room. I would appreciate you sticking around for a minute so we can talk after this. I just want to do my closing breath, because I got to take a deep breath after this conversation. But thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And hopefully we'll see you soon.
Appreciate it, bud.
All right, guys. Can you believe it? I can't believe it. It went so fast. and I'm really excited. It felt like an old friend. Tyler's an amazing dude. Again, I kind of feel like it. I felt like it would have went that way. These are important things to talk about. This shift that's going on in perception, we're all a part of it. You guys wouldn't be here if you didn't at least relate to a little bit of it when I say that. So I appreciate everybody for being here. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I have spoken to old friends in college who said, oh yeah, I watch your show, and they never show up here, but it's amazing to me. I thank you guys so much for creating a community, for being here. Intention, Ninja Kitty, thank you. Always positive, always amazing show when you're here. I'm trying to get Cody and Tanya next week from Acid for Squares. I'm actually going to be heading out to North Carolina soon to visit them, but I would love to have them both in the show now that they're settled in North Carolina and on Holding Space. It's a surprise on Tuesday. I don't know who I've got on Tuesday. It's just kind of been a couple of weeks like that where I don't have my schedule together, but it's always a good adventure. Come back on Tuesday. Come back next Thursday for the live stream. Until then, breathe and take it easy. Peace.
This is the theme song for the live stream of consciousness. You gotta ask yourself whether reality is a dream or you are dream reality. We are all a part of the